Call the Town of Rome Plan Commission public hearing regular meeting for Tuesday, October 10th, 2023 to order at 4 o'clock p.m. Item number 2 is a roll call, starting on my right.
Weisinger here.
Janzik here.
Baker,
Dilge here.
Jamadi here.
Capel here.
also present is Town Administrator Jamie Gebbert. Item number 3 is to certify the posting of the meeting. Jamie?
I certify on behalf of Deputy Clerk Treasurer Wendy Newsom that the agenda for the Tuesday, October 10th, 2023 Plan Commission meeting was posted on Tuesday, September 26th, 2023 at Rome Town Hall at 2:45 p.m., at Quick Trip at 3:51 p.m., at Nakusa Port Edward State Bank at 3:56 p.m. It was emailed to the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune at 3:40 p.m., and the legal notice was published in the Wisconsin Rapids Daily Tribune on September 26th and October 3rd.
Thank you. Item number 4 is to approve the agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion by Jerry, seconded by Paul to approve the agenda for today. Any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5 is the citizen comment portion of the agenda. We have no parties wishing to speak at this point. For those of you that are in the audience, the commission will also take comment from the public on an agenda item as called by the chair, but not during citizen comment. Please note that once the commission begins discussion on an agenda item, no further comment will be allowed from the public on that issue. The next section is no action to be contemplated except possible referral to a future agenda. Number 6, information updates, recent correspondence, current events, and announcements. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share?
I do.
Go ahead.
Yes, Baker Thompson and his design team from Sand Valley will be presenting to the Rome Town Board and the Plan Commissioners coming up in later in October, early November, a updated PUD for Sand Valley in the Sedge Valley development. Some of us took that tour earlier or later this summer, early fall, around the lake there. And they'll be doing an announcement and introduction to the update, and then they'll be doing a updated site plan of operation to the Plan Commission for whatever approval and recommendation then to the town board. So we'll be looking forward to that announcement soon.
That meeting will be, did you say a joint meeting of Plan Commission and Town Board?
Yes.
Okay, so it'll be during probably a Town Board night, and we would invite Plan Commission to join us?
Correct.
Okay. Are we thinking that's October 19th then, just so?
No, I believe I have the dates. We'll send an announcement out to everybody, but I think it's that first meeting in November. November 19th, I believe it was.
I think it's the 16th.
The town board, or 16th. Thank you.
But just then if Plan Commissioners could hold November 16th on their calendars.
On your calendars. Michael had originally presented to the town board and shared with us that he's looking forward to that partnership and sharing an introduction to the update to the PUD.
That'd be at 5 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, Laurie?
No, that would be it. Thank you.
Do we just want to announce that the town's annual budget hearing will be on November 2nd at 6 o'clock p.m. in the multipurpose room?
Yep, in the community room, yep.
Anyone else have anything? Okay, hearing none. We will move on to open up the public hearing, item number 7. 7A, consideration of a site plan of operation for Richard T. Foss for the property located at 1135 County Highway D, located in Section 8, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with a parcel number of 030-674. Jamie?
Richard Foss has purchased the 1135 County Road D and plans to open Foss Garden Center. The site plan of operation is not a substantial change in use. However, Mr. Foss does plan to add an expansion of greenhouses, which is a part of your packet in the site plan. The letters were sent to 7 property owners within 200 feet of the affected property. I didn't receive any information back from anyone, and Mr. Foss is here this evening to represent.
Okay. Mr. Foss?
Yes.
Please.
Thank you.
Rich Foss, and this is my wife, Sari Foss.
Welcome to Rome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. We have, how long we been coming up here now?
10 years.
10 years now. Love the area, fell in love with the area. It's awesome. People are awesome. Decided to buy Greens Nursery. We've been running O'Malley and Foss Greenhouse in Montello for the last 26 years.
Excuse me, is that red light on, that mic?
There's a button down at the base of the mic.
Gotcha.
There it
Is that better?
People at home
All
can
right.
hear you.
Nick misses one meeting.
So yes, as I was saying, we've been operating O'Malley and Foss Greenhouse for the last 26 years. Our biggest thing, my wife and I are always involved with our community. For example, 22 hanging baskets in the town, if you've ever been through Montello, the 22 baskets hanging that line our town and the waterfall are from us, and we donate them. So we would like to do the same with Rome, donating flowers, make sure we're involved with the town and the people in Rome also. Another thing we like to do is get involved with other businesses, offer a 15% off for all the businesses if they want to grow plants from us, flowers, vegetables, trees, shrubs. We'll give them a 15% discount. Just so we're working together and being neighborly. And what else do I have here? I guess the biggest difference between us and what Greens were doing is Greens had their items shipped in. This is a reason for the building of the greenhouses. We've always grown our own product to ensure quality product. We grow from seed, we grow from cuttings. And we've been doing this a long time, so it's the health of the plants, how they look when they leave our greenhouse, that's a pretty big deal to us. So that's a big reason we need to expand with the greenhouses. Let's see. I have some photos if you guys don't mind me sharing with you.
Sure.
Oh, thank you very much.
Pass them down, sure.
This is our greenhouse in Montello.
Really excited to have you here. I know,
Thank you.
I believe that Diane is too. I know I talked to her quite a few times before. She was really struggling with deciding to sell, and I
Yes.
know that she really held out, hoping that another greenhouse would
Yeah.
come in and buy her.
Yeah, my wife wrote her a nice letter explaining who we were and just basically easing her mind that we were gonna take care of the property the way it should be. And
I know she really wanted to sell to a greenhouse
Yes,
before
we're-
she sold to, yes.
I bet we're actually having a hard time leaving Montello, so
I can
We could-
I can imagine.
been doing that a long time. So
So you're leaving Montello, and this is not an expansion, you're actually moving here.
yeah, we're actually moving here. Yes.
That's gotta be
Yes.
hard.
Yeah, it is very hard. We're very in tune with our community, our school. I've been a coach in Montello for 20 years. So yeah, it's difficult. We have a lot of children that aren't our blood children, but
Yeah.
we call them our kids.
Are you selling to another greenhouse there? Just out
No,
of curiosity, or?
her brother is our business partner.
Oh,
They have a pretty large family. They have 5 children, so they're gonna continue running that one, and we're starting over basically up here.
beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
It's exciting. Thank you
Yeah,
for coming here. Welcome.
yeah, thank you. And the larger photos are photos of the greenhouse that we've purchased already. It's a truss style greenhouse. And the other one is a hoop house type. Those will be the back part of the property where we're gonna be, we'll be growing like extra flowers, perennials, trees and shrubs in those back two Overflow product annuals will be back there also. The 30 by 30s, the two 30 by 30 greenhouses that will be erected, and the 30 by 60 will be the main shopping. So we want that to be nice, neat, easy access for the customers.
What's the floor material gonna be?
Pardon me?
What is the floor material gonna be in those?
It'll be weed barrier, just on the soil. Concrete is, when you're watering twice a day, if you put in concrete, it becomes green, slippery. Need a good way to get rid of the water. That's the quickest way to get rid of the water, while we're watering all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. We got a lot of older people that have walkers and so forth.
Yeah.
Sometimes gravel's not the best.
No, it's not, no.
In the hoop houses, will the plants be done right into the ground? I mean, a hoop house is usually, you're utilizing the,
Yeah, the hoop houses will have benches, so they'll have the two 4-foot side benches, which connect everything with the hoop houses, and then an 8-foot bench in the center. So everything in there, we're gonna leave a little bit of the back greenhouse for some trees to root in there and the shrubs to grow during the cold season until it's time to sell.
Dan Hansen, the building inspector, has reviewed the greenhouse plans also, and has approved them, so, with plan commission and town board approval, the bosses would be ready to go.
I have a question with regard to the dimension of D and E.
Yes,
It's 21 by 96.
yes.
And I know in B1, which I believe this is zone B1, minimum width is 24, but is this a separate type of a building
These are,
than what a building restriction would be in the zoning of B1? Do you know what I'm asking?
yeah,
Kind of convoluted, but
yeah, I do know what you're asking. The 21 by 96s are just 2 extra greenhouses we have back in Montello. And, I guess I didn't really know that there was a minimum for the 24-foot. I didn't know that.
They are considered removable. Like,
Yeah,
we're
if that
taking
helps.
2 down and bringing them here.
Yeah,
And like as far as insurance and appraisals, they don't count as anything.
But then if they would be removable, that would be more of a temporary thing, so I would think it might be okay on a temporary basis, but not as a permanent structure.
okay,
Like if there was something where you were looking to get some additional space, maybe during growing season,
okay.
just go into B1.
Because it's in the back, can we make that part of a, can we make an exception for that as far as it's further away from, it's not within so many feet of, I don't have my computer to look up B1, I don't have B1 in front of me.
No, there wouldn't be an exception if it would be up year round, but I think there would be an understanding that at growing season, there would be a need for, I mean, we do allow temporary structures.
Yeah.
but this would be up year-round. It
No,
just wouldn't
that's
be
what-
covered, correct? It wouldn't have the,
Yeah, it would be
but
the
the
plastic covering.
frame would still be there.
Yeah. Unless it, yeah.
Well, technically it would all still be there.
What was your
You don't
intent, what was your intent for that structure? What was the plan for that structure?
Well, there's the two 21 by 96s would be overflow, cause we don't have enough room to grow everything in the sales area. So the sales areas are the 30 by 30s and the 30 by 60. And then the 21 by 96s, we're gonna be restock. So we'll carry the product from those and restock to the shopping area. And
Was your intent to leave them up year round?
yeah, and 21 by 96 is kind of a basic, that's the #1 basic greenhouse size.
So it's a
It's-
standard size
a
that most
standard.
greenhouses,
It is, 21 by 96 is the most popular greenhouse out there.
Well, I don't know just exactly, how the zoning of B1 says building width is 24, does this greenhouse, is it not defined then as a building? Where it would be outside the parameters of the width, I guess is what my question is.
I'm looking up the definition, cause sometimes that helps, but they were all,
Tent, isn't it, in a sense?
Yeah, there's ground stakes on these two. They're not concreted in, they're ground stakes. You build a bench, so that ties everything in together right there. And then,
So it's not like this picture here?
nope, that's the 30 by 30 and 30 by 60s.
Okay, so the 21 by 96 is not like this, not representative?
They're in
Do you have a picture of that, one of those, in one of your pictures? Could you show us what the 21 by 96 looks like?
and definition of building is any structure built with the support, shelter, or enclosure of persons, animals, chattel, or movable property of any kind, and which is permanently affixed to the land, when any portion thereof is completely separated from every other portion by masonry or firewall without any window, which wall extends from the ground to the roof, and then such portion shall be deemed to be a separate building. So
Okay.
I would consider
This is a
this
temporary
building.
building,
That's a temporary building. It's,
therefore it would not qualify under the definition of building.
But if it's up year round, I would not consider it a temporary building. If the intent is to put it up and not take it down, that's not temporary, that's permanent.
Okay,
I disagree.
so this would be a building.
I'm sorry, I disagree with what you just read. I would have to disagree with what she just read.
Well, it's a
You said
definition.
masonry permanently fixed, didn't you just say masonry
No.
May I see that a minute?
Sure.
When it's saying when any portion thereof is completely separated from every other portion by masonry or firewall without any windows, which wall
Masonry.
extends to the ground to the roof, such portion shall be deemed a separate building.
It says masonry or firewall.
Right, when it's separated, it's a separate building, but a building is any structure built with the support, shelter, or enclosure of persons, animals, chattel, or any movable property of any kind, and which is permanently affixed to the land.
I think that what we need is a definition for a greenhouse.
I think the key there would be permanently affixed to the land.
I would
because
assume this is affixed, otherwise it's gonna go over in a storm, right?
Didn't
It's
you just
affixed
say-
to the ground.
I think
Yes.
you could say that permanent might be, I'm just going out, maybe footings and fastened, where this is more of a tent structure, am I right?
Yeah, these are ground stakes, 1.5 ground stakes. You pound them into the ground. The hoops then connect onto those, and then you bolt everything together. Then it has purlins that run down, 3 purlins that run down through the structure.
I think a way to say it might be is that it's temporary, but you would leave it up year-round.
Yes.
A temporary structure of which you would intend to leave up.
Yeah, and these are those are our #1 greenhouse in Montello. We've had those for 25 years. We've had 2 tornadoes and they're still standing.
Okay.
What about the snow load in the winter?
The snow load is perfect on those.
The tent stakes are removable, so they're not permanent.
Well, yeah, they would
Yeah.
be
The,
movable.
yeah, the only problem we've ever had with the greenhouse is we built one year that was a V structure, and it held the snow for some reason compared to the hoop. The hoops, they heat up and the snow just slides right down to the side. It's hard to explain, but you wouldn't think so, but it does. The one year we built an actual V1, that one collapsed under the snow. But these, we've never had a problem.
I guess my conundrum here, though, is if, a temporary yet sort of semi-permanent building, which is not the width that is mandated in the zoning, if we went to like commercial A or another area and someone in that district wanted to do something, but it's not permanent, it's gonna be temporary, but we're gonna leave it up all year.
It's removable, easily removable by pulling the stakes.
Yeah,
It's not like a building.
So, the width requirements of buildings and everything else that we have in all of our zoning districts, if they do this type of a structure, I'm just trying to determine, are we opening a can of worms in some regards by allowing something that is less than allowed in the zoning district,
Yeah,
whether
that-
it's temporary or permanent.
Yeah, and I understand this is not something you're gonna run across very often. There's gonna be how many greenhouses come to town?
Well, it's not just a greenhouse, it's anything that,
Sure, it's
where
other,
someone can just say, well, it's a temporary structure, but we're gonna leave it up all year.
sure, yeah,
But it's in commercial A, or it's in multi-family, or it's in another zoning as,
yeah,
development.
Sure.
That's
I
why-
guess that's what my question would be.
That's why I'm wondering if we stay away from these definitions and have a definition for a greenhouse. If we have definitions specifically for greenhouses and not touch accessory buildings or buildings or sizes for any other type of building. This is specifically a greenhouse. So if we have a definition for a greenhouse, then we're not disturbing anything else that's opening up a can of worms for anything else. Because this is a greenhouse, and it's a new structure within our business district. So, and then we're not deterring a brand new business to town. So I was just gonna look up Montello just to see what your zoning district happens to define it for in Montello and see
Sure.
what they have. That was the route I was gonna try and take and see, and maybe we add that definition.
I'm not sure what your timeline is, but the committee couldn't add, you'd have to do public hearing notice and plan commission and town board, so you'd be at least a month out.
Well, can we do like we do otherwise, where we say we'll just say in findings of fact, we add the definition for a greenhouse. We've done that before, so that we don't have to do go through this.
You wouldn't be able to add definitions to zoning code without going through a public hearing.
I understand
Yeah,
that.
so
but-
I don't know that you can commit a future plan commission and board to the
Yeah.
approval of that.
Do we have anything for temporaries? Anything that addresses temporary structures? Like say if somebody had a sale in a tent?
He's looking for that
or a
one.
tent.
We certainly have
Would it be allowed under accessories we don't wanna go that route
Canopy.
either.
Right, we had a large discussion about canopies,
Yeah, well, canopies, yeah, would that go under canopies?
but again, a canopy is not, it's not indefinite. A canopy is for a specific amount of time.
Well, we're giving them a specific amount of time till we can get it on another agenda. We're trying to be accommodating here, so what can we do? What's an alternative that we have to make this work?
What is your time frame? What is your time schedule like? And I know I saw the sign, it's opening spring of 2024.
yes.
What kind of a time frame are you looking at here with
Uh,
regard to?
the frozen ground is basically the big,
And that's not gonna happen until March. That's a joke.
okay.
Being
Scared
funny
me
'cause
for a
she wants
second,
those
what?
golf balls to stay open with flags in 'em, huh?
So you're waiting for frozen ground before you'll transfer these buildings to the back there?
No, I'm like in a hurry to do everything before the ground freezes.
Before the ground freezes,
yeah.
Oh,
which
I
is like
see. Oh,
tomorrow.
got it.
Yeah, run the gas lines, a new gas meter. I think the gas meter on the 30 by 60, We Energies has a plan for me to put that on the south side of the 30 by 60. And then they're running the gas lines to the other heaters from there.
Jamie, I've got something that might be similar to this. At Sand Valley, they have that little restaurant area, that's a white tent,
It's a tent that comes down.
and that does come down, I mean,
They took a permit for that and that tent comes
that's the
down.
only thing I could think about
Yep.
that would be similar.
Can we segregate out those other two buildings temporarily until we get a definition of
Oh,
a greenhouse on
Sure.
21 by 96?
sure, keep those separate.
Keep those
from the-
separate and approve, or ask the town board to approve it without those other two?
Yeah,
And then we do our greenhouse definition and then ask you to come back, and you
Yeah.
might not even have to come back, I don't know, we could just
yeah, that's a good
skirt
idea.
it through.
Why don't we just put a condition under the findings of fact that those two buildings will be removed in 11 months unless we go through with some other zoning change to to allow them to be permanent. That way they're up there till September.
Yeah, that, that sounds good.
Right now, I mean, get you rolling.
Yeah,
We have, town board and plan commission have 11 months to figure out a way of making these permanent.
yeah. And we have, I wish our greenhouses were 24 wide, but there, it's just the common,
No, you don't have to, I think.
No, it's just, we wanna make it fall within our zoning, and we just need to make sure that everything is going to
yes.
be within the zoning.
And I'm looking up Montello right now to see how they, what their wording is for a greenhouse, so we'll get you there, it's just we gotta have the timing for
Sure,
so you can get them up before the ground freezes, but then
Yes.
we'll allow you the time for another posting and everything, but.
Well, if we give them 11 months,
Well, but then Mr. Foss would have to understand, if we don't come to a resolution and we don't have it, he's gotta take them down.
he understands that. I mean, it's up to us to come up with a solution that's permanent.
yes. And taking them down, if that's why I'm moving 2 of them, it's really, it's not that big of a deal. It's,
Yeah, well,
if they have to come down, they can come down.
Okay.
we want to avoid that if all possible. So.
We'll try to work with it.
Yeah, I see that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
They don't have them under greenhouses, so I gotta find them we'll
Yeah.
figure it out though.
Yeah.
Well, we got 11 months to do that if we go ahead with a condition.
Yep.
Any other questions or of Mr. Foss?
I do.
Go ahead.
With regard to your site plan, you talk about your parking spaces.
Yes.
And I noticed there are, I think, 10 that are on the west side.
Yes.
Next to the new greenhouses, so that means you're going to have approximately 12 in front of the building.
Approximate is 10 to 12, I would say, is in the
Okay.
front. Yeah.
Was there an issue with regard to the parking spaces in front of the building and their proximity to County Road D for
Commissioner-
safety purposes? I thought we had something like this.
Commissioner Wiesner would have to remind me, because we talked about, I think it was, when the buoy docks were there, we felt like that blocked that vision triangle
Right.
for backing up. And so we had a conversation at that point about the parking in the front of the building, but if that's removed, because that took up several parking spaces, and if you pull in and you back up, that wouldn't be blocking that vision triangle anymore.
The discussion was about storing merchandise out there that was blocking the triangle, the vision triangle.
But there's
Nothing there now.
There's not a vision triangle though.
Well, it is technically. When you back out, you need to be able to see down the road before you get all the way on the road.
And we removed all the items
Right.
in the front there.
Yeah,
so
there's
it's-
nothing there now.
Yeah.
I think that was the concern of the line of sight when there was storage in the
That's
front
right there on
area.
line of sight.
Yeah.
And your intention is to keep it parking.
It is. That, the front will be nothing but parking.
Which brings me to another question that I had. The outside displays, which that was the buoy, and we had that issue going on. You have no intention, or I don't know if you can, have outside displays in front of the building because of the setback requirements? Is that a correct assumption?
We would want it included in the site plan. I think it would be okay to have hanging baskets or pots by the front doors, those sorts of items. But anything that would be a larger display, that should be discussed as part of the site plan, yes.
And there is nothing here on the site plan that shows any outside merchandise displays of any kind.
No.
Now, the prior owner did have trees out in front
Yes.
and in the parking area,
Yeah.
but you have,
I cleaned all that up and it's back to a 100% parking lot now. Yes. Yep.
okay,
Was there any intention of having displays out front though? I mean, or are you just gonna have all parking?
Just like Jamie's brought it up, planters, hanging baskets, things to just beautify the building, pretty much. Everything else can be seen in the store or out back in the shopping area.
It just shows veterans parking and handicap parking.
Yes,
Okay.
and that'll be in the front on the blacktop area.
okay, so, with regard to the parking lot, and then you have a gravel driveway as well. I think in B1, you have to have a hard surface, is that correct?
We've said the 200 feet of the driveway. That's been the requirement for Gateway District, has been 200 feet
What?
of the driveway.
Okay, so the gravel driveway next to the existing hoop house, is that within the 200 feet? That's on the site plan?
It's probably pretty close because that's fairly close to the road.
So that would have to be a hard surface area, as well as the parking lot in the front.
I think the parking lot is blacktop, isn't it?
Part of it is. The rest is orange
like
crushed
gra-
granite, the compactable. That's what I was planning to put on the west side of the buildings, was compactable.
Okay. Does that qualify as a, what is required in the gateway as far as the types of driveway? And also in B1? I thought B1 had a,
It has to be paved.
I believe it only has to be paved up to the front of the building, correct?
If we're considering that the piece to get to the parking driveway, then it would be 200 feet. 200 feet has been the,
and that's from center line.
give me 1 second, I wanna double check that if it's, center line or property line?
It's center line.
Center line.
Center line, okay.
Center line.
So just doing,
And you did go through the entire checklist with them at the time, right?
we didn't do new business checklist because again, this is substantially similar use. It was really for the addition of the greenhouses. But I'm reflecting that from the center line to the front of the building is about 81 feet.
So the gravel driveway on the west side of the existing hoop house would have to be paved.
If we're considering that a driveway access within Gateway, we've asked for 200 feet to be paved. We have
Exceptions.
allowed timeframes in which it to be done, and there has been ones where town board has had less than the 200 feet.
Okay.
Right across the road.
Yeah, but that's not being encouraged.
Pardon?
That's not being encouraged. The town board,
The town board
that
overruled.
was recommended by the plan commission,
No, town board overruled the plan commission.
not this town board member,
Well,
not
Somebody-
this town
So
board
what-
member.
So unless the town board says differently, the zoning requires that that property be paved, or that be paved.
Gateway overlay.
Gateway overlay, and this lies within the gateway overlay, therefore it does have to be paved. Unless the town board overrules.
Or puts a time frame on it,
Okay,
which they've also allowed a time frame in
Okay.
order to get it completed.
So I guess one question would be is, why wasn't it paved prior?
Greens would have been there before Gateway
they were
overlay.
grandfathered,
God,
Not
just-
non-conforming use.
non-conforming, sorry.
That answers that question.
With regard to the refuse containers, your recycling and the garbage,
Yes.
that's not on the site plan, where are those going to be located?
I will just have the recycling in the back, just your basic, the 2-can type recycling.
So it'll be
Not
behind,
not a large dumpster type thing, just your basic,
okay.
yeah.
Will it be screened in or just sitting out there, or?
Probably screened in somewhere, yeah, yes.
The fence that's between your property and Mr. Pritzel's property, is that yours or is that his?
That's Dan's.
That's his fence?
Yep.
Okay. Do you know if your sign is considered to be a banner sign, or it is?
I would assume that would be considered. It's a 4x8 plywood with the banner over the top of it.
Okay, so,
Does that meet the approved sign changes that we made recently?
Well,
that does not meet the sign that would be allowed in B1 or gate.
Okay, so that just needs to be like a permanent sign?
There's samples of
frontage.
the signs that were recently approved, there's examples of them that you can look at in the sign ordinance.
All right,
but signs in Gateway, we had changed that, they did have to be monument prior to recently,
Right.
and now, and I'm just looking for the actual term. I mean, if the issue is the banner piece, because I do think, I mean, the sign is, it's two-post sign, which I think would be allowed now.
Yeah, well, it's allowed across the street, it's allowed at the boat barn.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know if the issue is the banner piece, because I do think the structure would be.
The structure is fine, but I think the banner,
What's the height of that sign, do you know?
I'm,
Is it more than 16 feet?
On the sign.
No?
it's, I believe it was 12 to 14.
Okay.
4x8. Apologies, height isn't on here. It's 40 feet from the center line. 10 feet from the driveway.
According to the dimensions of a sign, it can't be, and that's in section 25, XXV, it can't be 16 feet above grade.
We'd have to,
It's not 16
Okay.
above grade. Yep. I used a 8-foot ladder to install it.
Okay.
is that the structure that was originally there and you just put a
Yeah.
banner over it? So it was
Yes.
already existing
Yeah, yes,
and you just put the banner over it?
yes.
So the banner is the question, not so much the structure.
Correct.
Is there plywood behind that banner?
Yes.
So technically, there is a firm back support of it's just the banner's over it, not glued on. So it's not just strictly a banner sign, it's just got a banner over the top of the plywood.
I'm just guessing, but this is something you'd probably upgrade at some
Oh,
point in
yeah.
time. which
Yeah,
I don't-
definitely. This was to get our, this was to get our name out there quickly and,
You see, that was changing ownership, so there'd have to be enough, okay.
I think he has to have a new sign approved, correct, or no?
the sign permit was in with the site plan of operation.
It's
But
in there?
if a new sign went up, then you'd have to come back for a permit
Okay.
before installation.
I have that.
Here, you
Because
can
what
have
they
one.
would be approving and what town board would be approving would be the sign permit that we completed.
She doesn't have that.
Wait,
piece.
wait, I take that back.
That's okay, it happens.
That's why I can't be the chairman.
But that's not true.
That's not true. It happens to all of us. Lot to think about.
So if he was planning a new sign, how long would this one be good for? Eternity, and then the other one would come in with a permit?
Indefinite.
Okay. Better use the word. Okay, we have this ironed out now, as far as, the original site plan and plan of operation. I think Jerry's suggestion to make a condition that they be allowed, 11 months to, how did I write that down? Where?
I gave you the suggestion that we need a definition for a greenhouse. Jerry's was that we'd give them 11 months.
That we would-
11 months for the town to come up with a permanent solution. or solution for a permanent greenhouse, 21 foot
Yeah,
by.
allow the buildings D and E to be operated for 11 months until such time as the planning commission or the town board comes up with a new definition.
Right,
The greenhouses would have to be removed if it wasn't.
a 21 foot.
The 21 by 9, there's
Yeah.
D and E.
D and E.
Right.
Yep.
And then with regard to everything else, such as the paving, and that's all going to be part of, the standard operating procedure for the project to continue, correct?
And
It would
unless,
not have to be a conditional use, it would be part of,
there's no condition, no
No.
conditional use. But if there was an idea of which to give a time frame for that, we would want that as part of the findings of fact for the site plan.
with regard to the paving and what, because you're in the Gateway Overlay District, it's 200 feet from center of the roadway.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts with regard to that requirement or recommendation, or,
We would like for it to get paved also. So at some point, that will be added to our list of things to do.
what, can you give
Yes.
me a time frame as what that some point might be, or?
Would it have to be on the side, the west side of the buildings also? Would that have to be?
That's the
be-
driveway through to the,
That would be paved also. Okay.
If we took the parking away in the back, would we have to pave that?
If we took the parking away in the back, we'd have to do you have enough spots by sale footage, we'd have to do the math.
Yeah.
Cause
Yeah.
you still need a certain amount of spots per retail space.
Yeah, and we could probably, swing it in a couple, 2 or 3 years after we, see how our sales are moving along.
And it will depend if we have to buy new greenhouses. 11 months, so there's that too.
We've had a grace period with others on the other side of the road, right?
Yes,
2 years?
it was 18 months.
Kim probably wouldn't even be able to do it in 18 months. There's a lot of money going out. We would probably need at least 2.5 years by then.
She's trying to say we're broke.
These are recorded, just so you know.
But yeah, we would want it done as soon as possible, but you never know what's gonna happen, so.
Yeah, so if we could maybe just have a little leeway and little time frame before we head to blacktop, that'd be great.
I think for 2 years would be realistic. I know it's a little short on your expectations, but
Okay,
that's usually probably the limit that we've gone is 2 years on
okay.
paving.
Gives us 2 seasons then at least,
Yeah.
to.
Yeah,
well,
that-
and there isn't any, they could come back and
Right.
request an extension too. It's not like,
Okay,
we would make this one of the requirements, but then you could always come back and
Yeah.
ask for an extension, I would think.
yeah, and if all goes as planned and in 2 years, be no problem to get it blacktop. That's, our plan is, we're pretty confident in our plan, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Tom?
Is it just the 200 feet from the center line? I think I'm getting a little confused sitting here too. Or do they have to pave the parking spots in the back of their building? It's just from the center line back 200 feet, not your parking lot in the back by the greenhouses? Just,
It's 200 feet.
200 feet from the center line of County Road D.
Yeah, so just get the
Not for
measurement,
additional
get the
spaces
measurement
in the
where
back.
the 200-foot lies. and-
Correct.
Okay,
The parking spaces in the back probably are outside the parameter of that requirement.
okay.
They're gonna be close just cause that building's close to the road, but if
Yeah.
you measure it out, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, here's.
Any other questions or concerns?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Here's your pictures. Very nice. That's
Best of
very
luck
nice.
to you.
Thank you.
Best wishes.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, you got it.
So are we.
Yes.
The petunias are.
Happy for Diane.
Yeah, we are too.
Okay.
but don't go.
Well,
If I can
You
find my
You
agenda.
can sit, but don't go, don't leave, because we'll still have the action items.
Okay.
Yep.
okay.
All right, somewhere. My papers.
Find your agenda.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
That happens too.
Okay, here we go. 7B, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose: the short-term rental at the property located at 1495 Rain Dance Trail, owned by Abby Felix and Matt Weisenride, also described as Lot 18 of Running Bear addition to Lake Arrowhead, located in northwest, 1/4 southwest, 1/4 section 13, town 20 north, range 5 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-4127. Jamie.
So Matt Weisenride has submitted a short-term rental license application for a conditional use permit at the property at 1495 Rain Dance Trail for the 23-24 season, which ends June 30th, 2024. Again, short-term rental licenses are not prorated. Letters were sent to 11 property owners within 200 feet of the affected property. Plan Commission places conditions on the CUPs issued to STRs that will set a maximum occupancy and a maximum number of vehicles allowed on the property based on the standards found in town code. Staff would recommend a maximum occupancy of 6 and a maximum vehicles of 3 to be parked on hard surfaces, not on lawn or grass at the property. The applicant has completed all license requirements, including a manager, within 25 miles, which is on record at the town, and Matt is here this evening.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Did we slaughter your last name? Did we do it?
Yeah, no, you did not hit it at all. It's Wins and Reed,
Okay.
Okay.
but I get that all the time, so no worries. I'm used to it. Yeah, nothing much more to add. We purchased a lot and built new right there on Rain Dance. We've been coming up here for years with another family who has a property in the Lake Arrowhead Neighborhood Association, and we've loved it and wanted to have a place for ourselves to come up. We have 2 young kids, and then also when we're not using it, to have the option of using it as a short-term rental.
Okay. Questions?
Yes,
Okay,
surprise, right?
not surprised.
The drawings that we were presented of the property, I'm confused. I think it's a 3-bedroom home,
That's correct, yeah. 2 bedrooms on the main floor, and then there's a loft bedroom upstairs.
and that has a full bath upstairs, and there's
Correct.
a full bath downstairs.
On the main floor, correct, yep.
I didn't really pay too much attention to everything until I looked at the back of one of them that showed 1495 Rapids Trail, and this is Rain Dance, actually. I'm
My bad.
I'm hoping that, okay.
That's just my bad.
And then on the elevation, then I started to look at the drawings a little closer, and on the one that shows final grades determined on site, which we have no control over anyway, but that says lake elevation, and it looks like this is like a standard kind of a thing from Heartland Custom Homes and not necessarily your property. Is this your,
The designs were from Heartland Homes.
okay, so this is your property as it's identified on these
Yeah, correct, yep.
drawings?
I'm sure Heartland would be happy though to build the same property again, but this was designed for you.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep, we made some. They had a floor plan. We made some modifications to our liking, and this is
To the exterior.
no from the inside. So we switched around where the floor plan they presented, where the kitchen was, and a couple subtle tweaks to it.
So this is your floor plan,
That's-
as you changed it, modified it with Heartland?
That's the final. That's the final product. Yep, that's it.
Okay.
That's how it lays right now in person.
Because there's no address or identification on any of these to indicate that it actually is 1495.
Sure, I understand what you're saying. Yep. Sorry for not.
Yeah, it does. Way down here in the corner, it says Winds and Reed,
There you go. You got it.
right down here.
Nope,
for Winds and Reed.
Page 29,
Okay,
it's all there.
I apologize, it is there.
Thank you, I didn't double check.
But you know, it's so tiny, I could barely see it. I have to bring out my magnifying glasses now.
We keep one handy in case you ever need one, just let me know.
Is there any other questions for Matt? It's easier to say Matt.
Yeah, that's right.
I actually like his last name. You should say his last name.
Winds and Reed.
Yeah, Swiss German.
All right, well, if we don't have any questions, thank you, and
Thanks, guys.
we'll get back to you shortly. 7C, what?
I do have one other question. With regard to the occupancy, there's 2 bathrooms, so is that 8? Technically, it could be 8?
No, it's scaled down then by livable square footage. That's
Thank
the handy dandy chart, cause that shows the livable square footage rooms.
Okay,
Yes, and Jamie and I spoke, and 6 is what was on left, so that's fine.
okay.
The basement of this property is not finished. If it would get finished, that could increase occupancy, but then Matt would come back.
You have to come back,
Okay,
Yes, I'm,
all
s-
right,
thank
that's
you.
okay. No, 7C is consideration of proposed amendments to chapter 360 of the zoning code, article 17, Rome Town Center District 360-81.1, commercial A, subdistrict C, dimensional area and other requirements. I'm assuming we could, put this on a future agenda when our town's attorney's here. Jamie, or do you wanna handle that?
I'm comfortable with just talking through the amended language, potential amended language was in the packet. And it should reflect the conversation from last time. Accessory building height maximum 18 feet. One accessory building would be allowed on parcels in commercial A and subject to the following standards. The area of the accessory building shall be limited to not greater than 50% of the area of the principal structure. Accessory building shall not extend towards the front or lot nearer than the street of the principal structure. Required setbacks, and then it would have to meet the architectural standards. Which is also on the next page, just that the accessory building colors and accents shall be consistent with the principal building and its accents. If it was felt like it wasn't reflective of the conversation, we could still make changes, and then I would take that information back to Attorney Flanagan for those changes.
I think it's exactly what we talked about.
Yeah, I agree.
I see no issues with it. No, Tom probably wants 55%, but we compromised.
Any other comments or concerns or about the proposed language?
So just for a visual for me, because, you know, the 50% thing, if you have a 2,000 square foot business, it can be 1,000 square feet
Exactly.
or less.
Yeah,
Correct.
20 by 50 out or accessory building or whatever comes out to 1,000 square feet.
So currently, there's a building being built that we've heard that they're interested in additional storage space that they could potentially be adding on now. There's 2 other people that have buildings that they could potentially, by the standards that are in our code, add on to the buildings that they have. We're talking about changing code for existing businesses in the Rome Town Center that will change the look of the Rome Town Center according to the current design manual plan the design plan that we have for the Rome Town Center. I still have concerns about the type of the building that we're defining to allow storage. I understand they need storage, but I believe there's enough language in here that allows current businesses to have storage space built on to their existing businesses. It concerns me that we are allowing, quite frankly, storage buildings that will look like garages with large rolling doors on them to exist in a Rome Town Center that's supposed to be, what is the downtown, the gem of the town, which two folks here had sat on a committee that helped develop the design standards for the Rome Town Center.
But we allow it.
But I'm just, excuse me, I wanted to ask these folks a question. So with the design plan that some of us also sat on and developed, that's hidden away on the Community Development Authority's page that has not been followed as the Rome Town Center has been developed to some extent. And now we're gonna change the code to allow accessory buildings that basically look like garages for storage, which is a necessity, I understand. There is some things in here that allow businesses to add on for storage. We've heard from two of them. The third one is currently building that could technically add on, but they have not come here to speak. My concern is that it'll change the face of the park once again. You both sat on the committee that changed the code for commercial A. I guess I'd like to hear from both of you.
I'm not really sure that we actually changed the code with regard to accessory buildings for commercial A. Wasn't it always like that, Bill?
I'm
We just
asking you.
maintained-
I'm asking you.
Made any amendments?
No, I don't think we did.
You didn't,
Not
okay.
for commercial A.
Not for commercial A.
No,
We just, I'm pretty sure we adopted it the way it was.
you did, okay.
I thought we did.
I apologize, was the question, were they allowed previously and then got taken out and now would come back?
No, that
No.
wasn't the question.
No,
That was
whether
not the
we did
question.
any amendments or changes, and we did not. It
Did
wasn't,
we make amendments to commercial A as we did the Rome Town Center district? And I don't think we did.
I've got all my
The
notes.
only
I can
changes
give
I
you.
remember making were on the, uses.
Permitted and.
Permitted and not,
Uses
right.
and
We did
conditional uses.
mostly, that's primarily
That's
what we were
the only
doing.
changes I remember making.
But there's currently language in here that allows them to add on to their existing businesses or structures that they could do that for storage in commercial A.
There are times that you would want your storage away from your existing building. If you got a vehicle in there, lawnmowers and gasoline and that type of stuff. And some buildings would detract from the appearance of the building when you start adding on out into the parking lot or wherever you wanna go with it, rather than having another building set back away to put your lawnmower and vehicles in, rather than, on adjacent to the existing building. These all have to come to the plan commission for approval, so we can make the determination then if it's causing any type of an eyesore, but most of these, the one at the church is not an eyesore, I don't think. It's right out, that one's out in front. We allow it over there, but we don't across the street. That doesn't make any sense to me.
They have to comply with the architectural standards. So, you know,
But they were talking about the heights of the door, the types of doors.
There's no height of the door.
So
The
you're
height of the
saying you would-
building is 18 feet. Can't exceed 18 feet.
what you're saying is you would like it more specific with regard to the design of the accessory building and how it would comply? So that, if the doors would be like a barn door type of a style, or, you know, you would wanna limit that, is that
So
what
they
you're
don't
saying?
end up like popping up garages all around, that these storage sheds don't end up, or these accessory buildings don't end up looking like garages popping up everywhere.
The Plan
Right on
Commission,
the main square.
Plan Commission has control over this. They have to come in here for approval, so.
You know, I think that, the people that own the businesses that are looking at possibly adding accessory building have a lot of money invested. Their businesses look nice. That, with this standard where they're, have to meet the architectural standards of their original building, that I don't think you're gonna end up with a bunch of just, like you said, storage building type garages,
Or steel sheds
in
or
the
something
business
like
park.
that?
or in that Rome Town Center, I should say.
It was brought up at the last meeting that way. It was discussed that way.
And I think what was discussed as well is that if they are gonna put up an accessory building, they have to come back here, correct?
Yep.
Yes, it
So
was.
so then you would have some control over what they're putting up and what it's gonna look like.
I think not greater than 50%. That's a pretty large size. 50% is a pretty large size. 50% is a pretty large size. So let's take the meat market, for example. They have a pretty large structure there. If they wanted something, that's a pretty large size on that corner.
You know, they
And
got a lot of,
they had agreed to put in a patio there that would have outdoor picnics or music on it. Now, the meat market has 7 prime acres. What if they came back and wanted 50% for storage? Where does that go for the outdoor beer garden or hops? I'm just using these as examples. They made the,
Well, I guess that wouldn't that be up to the business owner as to how to place it so they could still go with their original plans?
they made their buildings smaller. They've already done that without coming back to the plan commission.
I don't know what you're
So-
referring to. Making their building smaller.
Their building is smaller than what they had originally had approved here at the plan commission.
I think, you may have mentioned meat market twice, and you meant to say Up North Brewing.
Oh, Up North Brewing.
So the Up North Brewing building has a
Revised building size
They
and
had that
location.
covered, it wasn't a patio, but a covered porch, and that covered porch isn't part of the final design. So the building is smaller because that covered porch is not on the 2 sides.
So then that would still make their accessory building smaller then, correct?
It-
Right.
Yes, and I guess I would, this says, 50% of the area of the principal structure. I wouldn't consider the porch part of that principal structure, a covered overhang, so and I apologize, I don't know the square footage of that building off the top of my head, what their accessory could be allowed.
But at the time we approved it, it was considered part of the principal structure. It was part of the outdoor structure with the overhang. It was part of the beer garden. Now, it's part of a conversation we're having.
but why?
Because I feel it's important, Jerry.
They want to put up an accessory building, it's gotta be 50% of the main principal structure without the porch. So, it's limited to that size. And no one knows, those guys, it's gonna be a very attractive building if they put up one.
Tom, I think you had something you'd like to say?
Are you gonna add?
I gotta find out.
And yes, I realize why we're talking about this. And yes, Lori's correct that we can add on to our buildings. But also in the Rome Town Center, it asks us to put our septic systems in the backs of our buildings, not on the street side. That is the biggest issue we have when we wanna add back onto our buildings is the mechanicals, the septic system that we were asked to put in because we didn't have sanitary sewer. All of our septic systems come out the backs of the buildings. So in order for us to have an accessory building, the septic system, gas and electrical are in the way on most of these buildings. That is why I came back to the Plan Commission asking this very question. Yes, it would be easy just to add some more roof trusses and bring out the back of the building towards Highway 13, if you look at my situation. But my situation, I have gas, electrical, AC unit, and septic, all out of the sight of the customers that are walking down the street. Because nobody wants to see the AC unit in your septic field along the sidewalk. So we were all asked to put those out of the back of our buildings. And then life changes and you realize, oh, hey, there's a lot of equipment involved with snow blowers and lawnmowers and wheelbarrows that it's not as easy to attach a additional so many square feet to the building to get you the storage space you need, because in hindsight, all of our septic systems and utilities come into the backs of our buildings, and you don't want us to see to add garages onto the front of the buildings. So that's where we came to the catch-22 situation.
I'd like to ask a question. Just a question, but you could add on to the south of the buildings, or like the brewery could add on because they're currently building, or the bakery, who was the other one that came and spoke, could add on. to the other two sides of the building where they currently have driveways. What I would propose is that we don't change this code for the entire park or the entire Rome Town Center moving forward for every new business. If we wanna modify this for these current 3 businesses or the 2 that came to speak for us, but every new business that builds in there,
Well, that would just be in commercial A.
right, commercial A,
How many properties do we have commercial A?
Left to sell or currently
currently,
existing?
we have 3, I think, 3 left.
I guess my question is, how many people, how many properties are we gonna impact by making any changes? How many are there? 8?
Well, there would, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in commercial A now, and there would still be at least 3 lots for sale, and those lots are not, they could be divided more than they are at this point.
So 11 properties would be able to put up accessory buildings if we change this.
Potentially more, it would just depend. I mean, there's a 5-acre parcel that's just adjacent to them, that could be, that could be sold as 5 acres, it could be sold as 5 1-acres.
I guess the one question that I've got is actually the size. Just asking you directly, would you need something, say, to the size of 50% of your existing building?
Yes, because my existing building is 24 by 52, not including the overhangs. So that would give me an option to have a 24 by 24, 26-foot garage, which is just basically a typical.
It's too good.
Now, I could see limiting the size instead of just going upright 50%. I could see if I had a 4,000 square foot building, say a marina came in, take the 5-acre lot between me and Codwell Banker. Say, I don't know, an RV place or somebody came in there and they put up a big building for sales showroom, say a 4,000 square foot building, then theoretically they'd be allowed a 2,000 square foot storage building. I mean, maybe limit it to no more than 1,000 square feet. Most of the existing buildings in there being me, the gift shop, Slice of Heaven, Up North Brew, we're all less than 2,000 square feet. None of us are bigger footprint than that. Most of us are probably about that 30 by 50, 24 by 52. Most of us in that 1,300 to 1,600 square feet. So if we use what Jerry's proposing, most of us would be limited to less than a 750 square foot accessory building. None of the buildings that are currently being built are over 2,000 square feet, which we wouldn't even get up to the max. We're all less than that. We're basically 1,500 square feet, 30 by 50 buildings, which calculates it out to be about 750 square feet accessory building, which is like a 24 by 24 garage. If we start to go down really small than that, then we start looking at our 12 by 20, and those look like storage sheds then. And I don't think many of the business owners in there are gonna wanna spend the money unless we put in the footings, unless we do the architectural standards. To have something that's just gonna deteriorate on you, a storage shed, doesn't seem like a wise cost of money, nor does it give you guys any more tax base out of it. An accessory building would be something with a foundation, it would be permanent. But the issues that were all arising is, yes, Lori, I could come out to the south of my building, but it would totally take away the look of Papa Bear's Mini Golf with the roof line, the brickwork. Now I got a big thing coming out into the parking lot. I mean, that doesn't look, now I'm gonna have an L-shaped building. Yes, it's possible, but not really feasible, I guess is the problem. If you wanna keep the nice looking buildings that most of us currently have, adding a hodgepodge addition onto it to get a storage shed onto your building, I don't think is going to help the overall appearance. But again, the biggest issue is we were told our septics and all our utilities, you don't want those along the sidewalk side of our buildings. So we all have to put septics in the back, and then it makes it hard to do an addition. Now, would Papa Bear's be allowed to come out the front of the building? I have no utilities there, but would it look good having my accessory building attached to my building and bring it out closer to the sidewalk? or would it look nicer to put that thing all the way at the end of the parking lot? I guess that's, I mean, cause there's nothing that's saying I can't come out the front of my building, that I could put a breezeway between the two, connect the roof line, and have people walk through a breezeway to get to the patio, but now you're gonna have a garage door on the street side.
Let me call it what it is. A garage is a garage. 24 by 16, 12 by whatever measurements. A garage is a garage. In addition to a building, would look nice if it looks exactly like a building. There's 5 of us here to decide. You know how I feel. You know how the business owners feel. But I'm not willing to change code for the rest of that. For the rest of the Rome Town Center. This is the jewel of the downtown, and people are coming here to shop. And we're talking about storage for lawnmowers, shovels, rakes, snow blowers, leaf blowers. And we're gonna change the overall look of the Rome Town Center.
It's not the Rome Town Center, it's commercial A only.
Overall, it's the Rome Town Center, it's the look. It's the look that you're impacting with allowing commercial A to have garages. That's what it is. So 3 businesses, if they need this storage, they could put in a storage building that looks like their businesses. And we've only heard from 2 of them. And 1 is currently still building. They could add on the space that they need to store their snow blower, their leaf blower, their rakes, and their shovels.
So what we're doing here, just so I get this right, is affecting 3 business owners currently.
We have heard from 2. There's been a conversation that there's a 3rd, but it would be all of commercial A. I guess I would,
You gotta remember the Caldwell Banker, Key Savings, those are all in commercial A.
yeah, so.
They have services that provide their work for them. They have paid services that do the work for them. The bank, the Caldwell Bankers, Key Savings, Permar, the other ones have the services done for them, the church.
Well, and my thought is that if a property owner is able to do that himself, why should he go through the additional expense of paying for that?
Why should we change our code for 3 businesses to make it look like
You're not
garages?
changing it for just 3. There might be other ones that come in the future that would need the same type of facility.
But we're changing the look of the Rome Town Center.
Not really.
The potential for having,
Yeah, you got one at the church, that's right at the entrance, coming in. Why did you allow that one?
the church is in commercial A.
No, it's mixed town center.
Yeah, it's mixed town center, Jerry.
But it's still in town, it's still in the town center.
But there are multiple districts within the town center.
I realize that.
Correct.
So we're with regard to commercial A, the potential of having, and this would be like the worst case, in my opinion, scenario, 11 accessory buildings in addition to the buildings themselves.
And the question could go back to, why did this entire commission allow a Menards garage packet for the meat market? So Jerry, let's not go there.
So I guess my concern is the density issue and having accessory buildings over and above the businesses that are there. And the new buildings, the new businesses that would come in would just plan on having this space available to put all their stuff in, rather than having separate buildings. If we change it, they will all be able to have their businesses and then have separate buildings. If we change it for everybody, which is what this would do, rather than just accommodating those businesses that are there right now that have this issue because it wasn't something that they were given an opportunity to do at the time. And I understand your point of view with regard to your utility services and your septic system, and where you have limited area to put it, and I totally get it. And that's why I would think we should somehow allow the people that are there currently, afford them the opportunity to have something to alleviate what their situation is, but not allow it for future businesses in commercial A. It would have to be planned into their building.
Their site plan of operation.
That's my thought on it. I just, to envision everyone having all of these accessory buildings on the, in that small of an area, technically, I just, I don't have that vision. But that's just me.
I also, that wouldn't be approvable by plan commission. I mean, that, I forget what the situation was that we had a couple months. Was it the fence? I think it was the fence, cause it would have to be done by variance. So if the conversation was just these three, then they'd have to go through the variance process, and that would be Board of Appeals, that wouldn't be plan commission. I think we discussed that with the cell phone tower, and that they'd have to come back for a variance
Right,
for the
yeah, we
variance.
did. So would there be a recommendation by the plan commission to the,
There should not be, because they should be separate entities.
okay, I just,
I'm just gonna call for any further discussion.
We're in the public hearing here, no.
Right. If there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion then for number 8 to close the public hearing.
Make a motion, we close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Motion by Jerry, seconded by Paul to close the public hearing for items 7A, B, and C. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. The next section is to discuss and possible action on the following items. Discussion and possible action number 9 on the meeting minutes from Tuesday, September 12th, 2023.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from September 12th, 2023 as presented.
Second.
So motion been made by Diana, seconded by Jerry to approve the meeting minutes from Tuesday, September 12th, 2023 as presented. Is there any other discussion?
Yes, I was wondering, how long does it take, who prepares the minutes for the meeting?
Linda, you're,
How long does it take for her to do those minutes? Is it a very long, in-depth? They're very long. And nothing, I just wonder if it's too much time involvement in preparing those minutes?
I couldn't give you a number at this moment, but because we record the meetings and they put them on YouTube, she goes back and she views them. I will say, you know, some of the items like the short-term rentals, they can be, you know, you're just changing the numbers and making sure that you have it correct on who makes the motion, but, you know, other items like our site plan of operation tonight will be in depth. I guess it's a,
No, and they're very accurate, and you know that she does, whoever does the preparation does do that, but I'm just wondering, because people have access to all of the YouTube and the Channel 3000 and everything else, if it takes a lot of her time, if it's actually necessary to have those as in-depth as they are.
I guess as an individual who's had to go back to the minutes, it's nice. You know, the videos are up on YouTube now, but
This, you can pinpoint the exact
Yes.
area you want to go. Okay,
Yeah.
I was just wondering. I didn't know if it was something that, you know, if it takes up a lot of someone's time to do that.
we appreciate you, Linda. when
We
you're
do, and it's
rewatching
just,
this.
I do like reading minutes that actually, you know, remind me of what we did.
They are.
They are. That's my only
Okay,
comment.
any further discussion on the minutes from September 12th? Hearing none, then we have a motion and a second, then we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 10, discussion and possible recommendation to town board, consideration of a site plan of operation for Richard T. Foss for the property located at 1135 County Highway D, located in Section 8, Town 20 North, Range 6 East, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with a parcel number of 030-674.
Do you have written down what that condition was?
I was writing it down that
Yeah.
buildings D and E, which are 21 by 96, would be removed in 11 months if no other zoning code changes occur with the town.
No other zoning. Well, we need a
That doesn't preclude the definition. That could include the definition.
Yes.
And that could be the solution.
yes,
I It
So
could
the way it's worded is, it's,
include other zoning
right,
code
it could be
changes.
other changes.
I would like to make a motion that we make a recommendation to the town board to approve the site plan of operation for Richard T. Foss, the property located at 1135 County Road D. And that the findings of fact be incorporated in that with the provision,
Conditions.
the condition.
I don't believe there's any findings of fact on that.
Yeah, it's on the back.
Yeah, we had a findings of fact. on it.
Did we? I looked
It's on the
like,
back of the front of the application.
I missed them then, sorry.
Yeah, we could go with Jamie's description for the first part,
Well, there they are.
item
Okay.
number 1, and then allow for the paving.
That buildings D and E on the site plan of operation, will be temporary in nature for 11 months, allowing, the town of Rome to,
Jamie had the wording for it.
okay. Can you say it again, though, because I'm
Sure.
not sure if I agreed with the last part of
Oh.
it.
Okay, the other one though would be the paving
And,
fees.
and allowing, the business 24 months to complete the paving requirements, mandated by the Gateway Overlay District.
Did you wanna add anything about the refuge behind the building, or the containers, or the sign? Or the sign was okay?
I'm not sure if there was a definition with regard to the banner or not, if it was technically a banner sign.
It's technically a ground sign, but it has a banner on it.
Right, so I think that needs to be clarified, because the structure is fine, but it looks like a banner over a permanent sign, so.
I do think Mr. Foss said that there is an intention to upgrade that sign.
Okay.
Maybe we also wanna put a time
Okay.
frame if it's 2 years and it would be upgraded, or less than 2 years, it would be upgraded.
Within a year, with a
Yeah.
permanent sign, a year sounds good, or?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay,
And the condition that the current sign located, and presented to us with the application be changed from a banner sign to a sign allowed within the district.
And you put a time frame on that one?
Within 12 months.
Hold on, I'll reread.
Please.
Well, and with regard to the siting of the dumpsters for refuse will be placed behind or in an area, I don't have my site
behind the
plan.
buildings, I think you had it,
In a screened area.
behind the buildings.
Behind the buildings, out of sight from the street. And to be enclosed pursuant to the zoning requirements of B1. And then Jamie, could you please read that other part after you're done with getting your carpal tunnel from writing all that?
Nope, that's okay. So it would be approval of the findings of fact with buildings D and E, which are 21 by 19. be-
94,
Sorry,
96.
96.
Yep.
Buildings D and E, which are 21 by 96, would be removed in 11 months if no additional zoning code changes occur, allowing 24 months to complete paving requirements of gateway overlay, allowing 12 months to upgrade sign without banner, and refuge containers to be placed behind buildings and enclosed per zoning code B1.
With regard to the first, the D and E, buildings D and E, the last sentence, which you said, if no zoning ordinances occur allowing the width to be changed from 24 to 21.
21 to 24.
21 to 24.
Don't we wanna just
For
say-
greenhouse, for a greenhouse building,
21 to 24.
21, from 24 to 21.
No, it's 21 already, so it'd have to go to 24, right? They allow the extra,
From 24
extra
to,
width to be
from 21 to
building,
24.
the one size of the building.
Okay.
Copy of this.
That's what I thought we were doing.
I wanna, may I just interrupt?
Certainly.
Mr. Chair? Don't, I respect what you're saying, but are we kinda complicating that and make it a little hard? Can't we just say that we wanna add a definition for greenhouses to our zoning code?
But we don't know if that's gonna do the job, not that
Why?
alone.
There's standard sizes for greenhouses, and all we really need to do is check standard zoning codes for greenhouses. How many other,
But maybe it would be more than that too. I mean, maybe it would be,
well, they're bringing them with them, and we're trying to accommodate one business, and we wanna do it within 11 months, and we don't have to make this really hard by reinventing the wheel to accommodate a brand-new business in town. So, to at least accommodate, I mean, we'll talk to Nick, but I think we're making the wording just a little bit difficult here tonight.
Well, I think she's got it, it's general enough to be covered by whatever changes we make, whether it's a definition or,
Well, why don't we say, or a definition of greenhouses? Just-
we don't know if that's enough.
I said, or a definition of greenhouses.
Well, I think we're going through this routine because it's not complying with our zoning ordinance as it
I
is.
understand, but, well, okay, all right. Okay. All right. I understand. Just trying to help a business, but
Well, I'm pretty
I-
sure we'll have it done in a couple of months,
true.
so. 11 months is probably 8 months more than we might need.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Okay?
What did I say?
I'm not able to read back that motion
I
for
could read
a
it.
vote. If you could, please.
Okay, so the motion would be accepting the findings of fact with the following conditions. Building D and E, which are 21 by 96, would be removed in 11 months if no other zoning code changes occur, allowing a width from 21 to 24. Allowing 24 months to complete paving requirements of the gateway overlay, allowing 12 months to upgrade sign without banner, and refuge containers to be placed behind buildings and enclosed per zoning code of B1. And the term would be indefinite unless noted above.
I think your numbers are backwards. I think it has to be no other changes from 24 to 21.
21, yeah.
And the recommendation is to, the motion is to recommend to the
To the town
town
board.
board to approve.
Correct.
Correct, okay.
Okay, so that, with that change from 24 to 21, the motion's been made by Diana, seconded by Jerry to approve or to recommend to the town board the consideration of site plan of operation for Richard Foss at 1135 County Highway D, with the accepting the findings of fact and the conditions that were stated by the town administrator. Is there any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 11, discussion of possible action, consideration of the issuance of a conditional use permit for the following purpose, a short-term rental to property located at 1495 Rain Dance Trail, owned by Abby Felix and Matt Winzenreed, also described as Lot 18 of Running Bear addition to Lake Arrowhead. Located northwest 1/4, southwest 1/4, section 13, town 20 north, range 5 east, town of Romanoff County, Wisconsin, parcel number of 030-4127.
I'll move approval.
With, where's the findings of fact?
The findings of fact, as stated.
I'll second.
I just want to verify.
Yeah, they're on it. Do we need to be specific?
No.
No, those are already in
They're
the
already
findings of
in there.
fact.
Everything's on there.
Okay, a motion is made by Bill, seconded by Jerry to approve the conditional use permit for Mr. Winson Reed at 1495 Rain Dance Trail. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Could I make one comment about our findings of fact? Or is this not the time where I can do that?
This is probably not right there at the
Okay.
time.
Was the question for me? I'm sorry.
No, there's no question. Maybe bring that up under number 13, maybe. Item number 12. Discussion of possible recommendation to town board, consideration of proposed amendments to chapter 360, the zoning code, article 17, Rome Town Center District, chapter 360-81.1, commercial A sub-district, C, dimensional area and other requirements.
Okay.
Make a recommendation to the town board that we approve the zoning code changes as have been presented.
Okay, motion by Jerry. I'll second it just for discussion. Does anybody else have anything they want to bring up regarding this recommendation to the town board? And it's the consideration of proposed amendments to chapter 360, the zoning code, article 17, Rome Town Center District, subsection 360-81.1, commercial A, subdistrict C, dimensional area and other requirements. Hearing no further discussion, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion.
Better
Okay.
take a roll call.
Okay, a roll call vote. Jerry?
Yes.
Paul?
No.
I say yes.
No.
Diana?
No.
Lori?
No.
Bill?
No.
Motion's defeated. Okay. And item number 13. Are you done with your notes, Jamie? Don't
Yep.
wanna rush you.
No, you're good.
Number 13, discussion of possible referral to a future agenda, consideration of short-term rentals effect on residential neighborhoods, density, and requirement of a conditional use permit.
Enclosed in the packet were two articles that came from New York City. New York just made some changes to their short-term rental ordinance, laws, rules, and the articles just reflect how that's reflecting with Airbnbs and how it would be limiting those that could rent because you do have to reside in the property of the rental that you're making available and no more than two individuals. So Commissioner Dalgy had brought this up, that they had made some recent changes, and so we found some articles and included those in the packet. I did just put in the zoning administrator's report too, that we currently have, this year so far, we have 89 licensed short-term rentals and 6 additional properties that are working through the process. There is actually 7 now, but that is a short-term rental that's sold, and the new owners will be short-term renting. So even though it will be 7 working through the process, it won't change the overall number because that property is already licensed.
I interpreted this a little bit differently than you did. I interpreted that the city of New York was requesting that anybody that was going to be using their home or apartment or whatever for a short-term rental had to file an application with the city of New York. And I guess then the other part that I'm reading is that that no more than 2 guests are allowed to stay at a time, and they must have ready access to the entire home. I didn't see the part where the homeowner has to be on site with the guests.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's, yes, they do.
yeah.
additionally, there, all over the country, there are people that are pushing back on short-term rentals. Municipalities that have found, their property values are being elevated tremendously, where people, it's not affordable housing anymore. It's not helping with, workforce. They're placing moratoriums on short-term rentals. San Diego has, capped whole home rentals, to 1% of the city's housing units. Cottonwood Heights, Utah has changed, short-term rentals to other zoning areas, not residential, multifamily, multi-use, PUDs. Lake Placid, New York has done a fine structure. I don't know if we've done something like that with regard to if you do something that is not according to the short-term rental, if they're outside, if they're violating it, not just the 3 times and you're out, but we can attach fines, which sometimes fines are more advantageous than three strikes and you're out. And it's happening all over the place, and I think maybe, and it's not my intent to stop short-term rentals, because I believe it brings income, it generates income, vitality to a community, other things, but there comes a point where we need to perhaps slow this down a smidge. I did, and this is just of the Lake Arrowhead area. You know, and it's really hard to see, but I went through and I outlined every single, before you gave me that. Every single one that is approved for a short-term rental. And in some of these areas, and they're on cul-de-sacs, you know, the number of the short-term rentals that are coming in, there are other areas that are limiting, in neighborhoods, they can only sell so many of these permits. They're not restricting, or they're not saying no short-term rentals in the municipality, they're just saying the density issue here is getting to be a bit much for the enjoyment of the residential population. And I think perhaps it's time that we revisit this, and I don't know if we need to get the town board to allow our attorney to assist in trying to mitigate what is happening in the community with regard to short-term rentals, and the fact that I get a lot, I think the most questions I get about being on Plan Commission is, what are you gonna do about the short-term rentals? And I think this has been, since 2017 now, since the act, you know, the budgetary act. And I think we need to revisit it a little bit more seriously and just not do a blank rubber stamp on it, and try to get our attorney to perhaps give us some legal advice with regard to, do we have more ability to slow this down? Just a smidge.
The one thing that I hear the most about is, especially on these cul-de-sacs where we have density issues, is the thing that we've brought up and talked about numerous times, is the fact that we never really get to, is with the parking. And we've talked about it, is when they come in, they're allowed so many cars, but they bring trailers. And the trailers have boats, and the trailers have ATVs, and the trailers have, so then they're parking on the road. So there is an issue with parking, and yes, they can file complaints with host compliance, but that gets to be an issue, especially in some of these smaller, tighter cul-de-sacs that we have around our community, especially like in Lake Camelot and in Lake Arrowhead. I'm not so sure about Sherwood having smaller cul-de-sacs. I think they have some as well. So the parking is a real issue too. So, I mean, you can't really ticket them for that, because it's something that we haven't really addressed. So that's something that we need to be aware of as well. So I just wanted to bring up that point, cause that's something that's always brought up to me is the parking thing. It's like, oh yeah, you only, regulate so much parking, but these people do bring in trailers. They do in fact bring their boats and their jet skis and their ATVs. So where are they technically gonna park those things, but on the roads?
Well, and that's where I think we have the density issue here, especially on the cul-de-sacs. But neighbors don't wanna turn in neighbors. They
No.
don't wanna call the police. They don't wanna do, I don't even know if they're aware of what the ability is that they have. But if, as a town, I think if we were to address the density issue and the fact that we just can't allow that many to have in a certain area, the parking issue perhaps would not be as prevalent.
What are the limitations of the state, though? I mean, that's really the guiding factor, isn't it, the law, the state law?
Well, it's not, it is the act, whatever the act number is, but there's been case law now within the last couple of years that would, I believe, and again, that's something that, our council would have to address for us too. Do we have more things open to us and available to us as our,
Because municipalities are taking cases and winning, in other words.
I don't know that
I
that
don't know.
case law has been in Wisconsin.
Right.
there's one.
And so I do think that Attorney Flanagan has said the way that our state law is structured, there wouldn't, a lot of these options would not be applicable in Wisconsin. But it certainly can be asked. I think that the process can be looked at, right? We can always look at the process and see if it can be different, but the piece about density has not been through Wisconsin court.
There are more and more municipalities in Wisconsin looking at density. There are concerns that have been brought forward to the town that we should probably start looking at. There are other communities that have looked at our process and have mimicked it based on the fact that it is a good process, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be reevaluating our process, because things are changing, because communities, for a number of the reasons Diana has brought up, there are concerns and they're valid concerns. Workforce housing, putting moratoriums on them because of the density and issues people are having. But we do in fact have a good process, but it can be looked at. And there are a number of things that have been brought to our attention that we're reevaluating and looking at, and we should be looking at them, and the discussion is moving forward. So, but we do have a good reporting system. Neighbors don't like reporting on neighbors, and they're, just like everything else, people complain about stuff they really don't need to be complaining about either. But there are things that, we should be reviewing in our process, and we will be doing that. We'll be looking at the number of, conditional use permits are one of them. There's a very good process down in Madison, the number of inspections that we do. So, there are things we can and should be looking at, and moving forward, we likely will be having those discussions.
I guess one thing we could do, is the revenue that we generate through this, we could reinvest back in.
And we have, I mean.
We do.
The community service officer was a piece of that was stimulated through short-term rentals, right? So that we do reinvest the revenue that we get from the license sales, and we do now have a dedicated officer who will take over short-term rentals and handle, nuisance complaints or noise complaints, other property complaints that would occur in the town.
Dead brush, she does dead brush, and she also is our boating person, the extra boating person we have in the summertime. So, I mean, that's our nuisance person.
I just want to, just address a couple of issues that were brought forth. I think, Lori, as far as the parking goes, I think we could probably make a part of the finding of facts for the conditional use permit that the person renting the unit has to make sure that they don't have those extra trailers and stuff parked on the street. That as part of the approval of the conditional use permit, these people, if they're bringing these types of vehicles up to the town, have to find someplace else to park their trailers. So that it's not on the cul-de-sac, because almost every town in the town of Rome is a cul-de-sac. At least on my side of 13 it is. There's not a lot of just through streets. They're all have a cul-de-sac at the end, and
So how, I appreciate what you're saying, but okay, if we tell them there's 4 parking spaces, how do we know if they're bringing trailers or not?
Said, we can change our findings of fact to say rather than 4 vehicles, 4 vehicles including trailers, any extra.
But, and then, I mean, enforcement is either, the CSO is not likely, I mean, if it's something that would be spotted, but wouldn't be driving just by the short-term rentals. So it would likely have to be reported either to host compliance, which is not an emergency item. We would follow up with the property owner likely after the fact, so it could be corrected. Or it would be a non-emergency line through the police department. And I understand what you're saying. We do hear it often here at Town Hall to say, you know, I wanna report this, but I don't wanna be that neighbor. But I also remind people, we have an 8-member police department, and they are trained to do that, to have that conversation. And it never gets corrected if the conversation's not
Doesn't
had.
happen.
And I can't have that conversation, right? Like, we have a team here that's they're doing that community outreach, and they know how to have those conversations responsibly and respectfully. I heard it this one time at the State of the Lakes meeting, but the guy said, so I throw a cup of oil into the lake and no one says anything about it, so everyone can throw a cup of oil into the lake, right? If you have a concern, that's why we have a police department. That's why we have them. That's why we have host compliance. Never feel bad about speaking up about
I didn't feel bad when I called the police. I truly didn't, and I even told them, you know. But because they were busy at the jail and it wasn't an emergency, but they can't respond.
No, if it's not an emergency, it will be followed up with.
So host compliance, when you call host compliance and you make that, then they contact the police department.
They will escalate it if they need to, but vehicles parked won't be escalated, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But that is one of the primary complaints of short-term rentals. That, and I don't hear so much about noise, it's the parking. But, you know, I just don't know if it's effective.
you had brought up possibly fining these people. You know, they're allowed technically 3 violations that the town could revoke their short-term license. I mean, I assume that if the police department goes to one of these complaints, that if there's justification, they're gonna write a citation anyway. They're just not gonna ignore it, thinking that this is the one violation that goes on their bad record list. I mean, it still would go on their list, but the renter or whoever is causing the disturbance or whatever the case might be gets a ticket. I'm sure the police department would wholeheartedly, if something's really going on that really affects everybody, wouldn't desire not to write a ticket.
They would issue a citation, yes, they would. I mean, if there was,
And that would just be one bad mark then for the person that's got the conditional use permit.
Yep.
I'm just confused as far as, you know, when do you call the, and they're almost always non-emergency, so then host compliance, but then for it to be escalated, what kind of proof does the property owner that's making the complaint, what kind of proof do they need to show host compliance that this is a violation of the conditional use permit?
well, so every call that comes into host compliance is recorded. You can choose to remain anonymous, but the officers are getting, and at this point, I am getting a recording of that call. So if they would say, I will tell you the vast majority of the calls are either too many vehicles, too many people in the house, or things that are done in poor taste. They are not safety items, but they are done in poor taste. So those items, when I hear the call, I can call the property owner, like if this happened on a Saturday night, and say, you know, you had too many vehicles, you need to address that, you need to have something listed in the house, And every time the property owner says, thank you for letting me know, some have said, I will choose not to rent to that individual again in the future, or they'll put other standards in place. There's been very few properties then where it's become a continued issue, and if it has, they've been cited by the police department. Yeah, and all of that is a conversation that, we're having with them. They know that these calls have come in, they know what the issue has been. Yeah.
One additional question, you mentioned that additional officer we've got or that we hired. Does the public know about that? I did not know about it, maybe that's my neglect and not reading something, but I didn't know about that. And does the public know?
We can share that more. We have the upcoming budget hearing coming up. It was a position added in last year's budget, so we can share that again though, that it's here, that.
Yeah, cause there's some tummy comfort that comes with that.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, and she's the CSO, but she also, if there's a vacancy or a vacant shift that needs to be filled, she is assigned road duties as well. She's just not taking care of, noise complaints or brush complaints. She's actually out on the road doing something if need be.
She's an officer.
Right.
Yep.
But she was hired as a community service policing officer, so her primary duties are nuisance complaints, and that's what but she will fill an empty shift or someone gets sick or.
I think that's important to get out there though, because, considering the whole conversation here, that there's somebody kind of minding that whole, situation.
And I know that, the density issue has come up on, the majority are in the Lake Arrowhead area, right? We have less in Sherwood, and I would say we have less in Sherwood because their covenants restricted it. Until their covenants were found that they couldn't be enforceable anymore. And that's a conversation, Arrowhead has enforceable covenants.
And you have too many golf courses. I think the majority of the people, I think a majority of the people that are short-term renting in the Arrowhead side are golfers because of
I see,
your golf courses and the Sand Valley.
They're very accessible.
Yes, exactly.
I think we need to have Nick available to tell us what we can do and what we can't do legally.
Oh, sure, we're not gonna figure out anything tonight.
No, but it's something that can be added, not that, I have next agenda items, right, not that we ever slow down totally, but going through the winter months, maybe taking the opportunity to just go back through the process again, and if there are things that can be changed or tweaked, taking that time to have an in-depth conversation.
Yeah.
I did have one other question about the sheds or storage buildings. How do we re-tee that up? We had a vote here, and then how do we re-tee that up to revisit it?
I think if that might be something under future agenda item.
They can do it by variance. They can request a variance and they can go to Board of Appeals and do a variance.
Okay,
Board of Appeals will meet and give them a variance.
so that's the direction that.
Did we pass up number 13?
That's the one we're working on,
Oh, then
short-term
can I-
rentals.
Oh.
So what else did you wanna cover under that, though? Can we?
With regard to the findings of fact, the term of the conditional use shall be indefinite, and this is just a minor thing I was thinking about. As long as the current property owner holds a town short-term rental license. Can we just add for the property identified in this findings of fact? Because it says, can someone have a short-term license on another property? But to be more specific and just keep it just to this finding of fact?
Well, the address is on the top of the page,
Yeah.
so that,
But,
up here, so that shouldn't that be the findings of fact for that specific piece of property?
Should be.
Wouldn't you think?
not necessarily.
How do you think it would be different?
Well, if you just take that sentence on its own, the term of the conditional use shall be indefinite as long as current property owner holds the town short-term rental license.
And you wanna say for the property located at such and such a place?
No, the property identified in this finding of fact, just to verify that that property owner just can't hold a short-term rental on any property in the town. It has to be this specific property. That's because I worked for lawyers all my life. Sorry.
That explains a lot. We can talk to Nick about it, see what he's got to say, but I still think that with the address being that is at the top of the page, and that's where the conditional use permit is being issued to, that would be kind of redundant to put it in again at the bottom. At least my own thought,
Okay,
okay?
We will ask the question and we can bring it up under announcements next month.
okay.
Okay, dates and time items for future agenda meetings. Number 14, next agenda items. Jamie?
So we will have a site plan of operation for Dean Ramsden. He had come last November with the condo plat for the storage sheds. There's a potential sale of that property and the new owner would just like to do storage sheds and has an updated site plan of operation. We will have a lot design request. That's not something that, I don't think the current plan commission has done, or if it's been a long time, but individual doing a CSM has some special features of that CSM that would like those to be considered by the plan commission. And we will have 2 short-term rentals, that will be ready. Then we wouldn't have anything about the PUD because that would be on the 16th, and we would invite plan commission to join town board. And then I just want to mention now, something to keep an eye out, because next month will be my last meeting with you, but the trap shooters have turned in a site plan of operation for the addition of a building up there, but they want that to go to January plan commission to fit their construction schedule. So I'm just mentioning it now, like, just because we go through transition, it's helpful to bring it up. So January plan commission, want to make sure trap shooters gets on.
Do we know what kind of building?
It's an additional shed structure.
Okay.
And the site plan of operation, you said they're thinking of selling that next to MPS Builders?
They have an offer, the piece of coming through plan commission would be part of sale.
So they wanna put in,
Regular storage sheds, not condo storage sheds. They have a conditional use permit approved, but the site plan would
but
change.
that was for the previous owner.
This conditional use was improved indefinite. Conditional use carries with the property owner when marked
The
indefinite.
current property owner.
No, conditional use carries with the property owner. Or excuse me, conditional use carries with the property, not the owner. Yeah, in short-term rentals, we list that out separate in the conditional use permit that it's
For
with that.
short-term rentals,
But
not
not-
a
yeah.
property that's selling.
Yes. And I remember us distinctly having that conversation that if
You say for
indefinite.
short-term rentals, I'm talking about the one for the storage unit.
I'm saying short-term rentals are the only conditional use permit where the term of indefinite is associated with the property owner. All other conditional use permits, if the term is indefinite, it carries with the property, not the owner. So they have a conditional use permit for storage units on that site, but this would be a change of site plan, cause they would not be condos.
Okay. November 16th, what was that? No, that was was that November 16th, the town board and planning commission joint meeting?
We would invite plan commission to join that town board meeting.
That's on November 16th?
Yep, at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
But our regular meeting will be the 14th, 4 o'clock.
Yes, okay. So, item number 15 then, the next meeting date and time is November 14th at 4 o'clock PM, right back here. And on that note, we'll adjourn at 5:59 PM.